Hey there, campers. Big Lorcana news here. Some pretty devastating announcements coming through. Yeah, I figured the best thing to do would be for Gibby and I to jump in and just talk about it because I had to talk about it with somebody, and so we figured we'd jump on and share our thoughts with you guys. Gibby, go ahead and hit the share button here. You've probably seen it elsewhere if you are a diehard Lorcana fan, but the owner and creator of Pixelborn just dropped this huge bombshell announcement, which is that Disney representatives contacted him and basically sent out a cease and desist order for Pixelborn. Pixelborn, of course, if you're unfamiliar or you're just a fan of this channel, you don't play as much Lorcana. It is the third party unaffiliated digital client, the only way to play Disney Lorcana online. And this news, I mean, it hit 20 minutes ago. And
If that.
Gibby, where are you at with this? Because like I'm coming off the high of playing in Atlanta, and this is stunning, horrifying. Like, where are you at?
Bewildered. And also feeling rather blindsided. Like, not that this is like
Yeah.
a personal attack, but like it's a personal attack. It feels like to the player base. Like we're in the middle of this first official season, as I'm going to call it, of like set championships. Ursula's Return just dropped, and like the cards are now officially all in Pixelborn. And this is like we're like in test central right now, especially since now not this weekend but the following weekend will be the first official tournament where Ursula's Return cards will be available to be played in an official like in-person
Challenge
setting
event.
and challenge event setting. So what are people doing? People are testing their hearts out with these decks, trying to figure out, for those going to Chicago, trying to figure out what they're going to run, tweaking cards, tweaking game, and like playing games, trying to like figure out these decks and fine tune them. And Pixelborn is the ideal place to do that in your spare time when you're not playing in your physical store. So to receive the notice today that Pixelborn is being told they need to shut down by the 16th of June, like I guess you'll still have the time up until Chicago to do your testing, and they'll still have that window. It is just perplexing, to say the least. Why now?
It couldn't have come at a worse time. Like, that's the thing. Like, not only did you, as you mentioned, a new set just came out. There's a lot of hype around that. There's a lot of unsolved meta to be solved and to be worked out. A lot of cards to be tested and experimented with. It is a very, like, we're not sitting in a lull, right?
No.
That end of season, like the meta's kind of solved already. And I don't even think we ever fully got there in the Inklands meta, but like, this isn't like, after, 2 months of Floodborn meta where like everything was solved and everybody knew Ruby Amethyst was the best and everything was like, what can beat Ruby Amethyst? Like, no, like we're sitting in like one of the best and most exciting times as Lorcana players and as Pixelborn players. And this comes out right in the middle of it, right before a massive event. It feels pretty boneheaded to me. There's just speculations running rampant. I would not be surprised if we make another video in the next day or two, because dude, in my mind, like Lorcana has to like confront this. They have to make an announcement. They have to say something. They can't just like, they can't just let the community run wild with speculation for any long amount of time. I mean, I popped into a couple chats. I popped into Savage's stream and looking at a couple other places, and like everyone is just wildly speculating. We've got people threatening to quit the game.
Yeah.
We've got people saying, well, time to move on, gonna go switch over to Flesh and Blood. Like, this is really bad, and Lorcana needs to be doing some damage control. If they like, frankly, this shouldn't have come from Pavel. Like, no offense to Pavel. I mean, I'm sure big announcement, and I think he wrote a really nice response. But like, let's be real. Like, look, this is bad PR for Lorcana, and they gotta, like, I don't know what they're gonna do next.
Yeah, my heart goes out to Pavel. First of all, I mean, he writes it pretty candidly in his message about how much time and effort and love and dedication he spent on Lorcana and creating Pixelborn for this online client, which, by the way, in case for those of you who don't use Pixelborn, has been completely free. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not like a paid thing that you have to earn the cards or pay to even play Pixelborn and download. And he's pretty good, despite it being like through Google Sheets and stuff like that, which is like an unofficial like place to do all the updates and have to download the new
Mm-hmm.
client and all that. But it's been pretty great. A pretty great service for the Lorcana community, and I think Ravensburger owes a lot to Pavel and Pixelborn for really growing the player base.
Oh,
Like
undoubtedly. And
it's been
I
crucial.
saw this comment. I saw this comment, not to interject, but like, dude, I agreed with it wholeheartedly. Somebody said Pixelborn bailed out Ravensburger for the first two sets. The game could have crumbled, or at least not gotten the hot start it did, if there wasn't an alternate way to maintain hype for the game while they sorted out their awful supply issues.
Yeah, I mean, and granted, like Dreamborn is the place where people like go and build all their decks, and there's even Pixelborn integration, like for like transferring deck lists over to Pixelborn. Like everyone has accepted Pixelborn as like this digital standard for Lorcana. So for it to be getting shut down in such a crucial and pivotal time, where the game I think is at its peak of growing right now that we've seen so far, it's just very perplexing. Um, I fully hope and expect that since this is coming at such a unexpected time of this announcement, that Ravensburger one will say something in the official Disney Lorcana Facebook group or wherever they tend to send their official notices, their websites.
There, the
Yeah, the websites.
website, everywhere else,
I
yeah,
expect
Twitter.
we will receive something from Ravensburger / Disney. I expect that they are hopefully working on a new client already, and hopefully this won't break any momentum for the game. Because I want to continue playing, I want to continue testing, and I don't get the option to go play in person all the time like I do with playing Pixelborn. I've been playing like in between meetings like all day, so like for
Mhm.
work. So it's such a service that to see it go down is going to be really really tough if there isn't an immediate fix for the game. Something to note, despite this being the end of a rather large project and era for Pavel and Disney's Lorcana, he does mention, and I'll scroll down a little bit here at the bottom of the message, that he is working on two other engines. Engine Newton, which is going to be a Star Wars Unlimited TCG uh, engine, so basically Pixelborn for the Star Wars TCG. And he's also working on another project as well, Engine Sorcery. So I it's great that he's still got continued projects. It's sucks to see Pixelborn go down and how much time and effort that's going to kind of go down the drain for Pavel, but he's got other projects in the works. So if you're a Star Wars Unlimited player, keep an eye on an online client coming for you, which is going to be fantastic as well.
I think that this is interesting, um, for a couple reasons too, and not interesting in a conversational way, but like not a good thing, not interesting in a way that has a great connotation. But one of the things that is a concern, obviously, outside of just the testing component, is like, how are content creators going to create content like in the next couple, or rather, let me
Post June
rephrase,
16th.
content creators content creators that have been doing Pixelborn as their primary way of supporting the game and building hype and developing the meta and supporting community oriented competitive events and all these things. How are they going to do that post June 16th? Because as somebody that has done some tabletop videos, and the quality has been improving, but it is a work in progress. Like, this isn't something that is easy to do. It's extra time consuming to sleeve up all the cards that you want to show off in the video. A lot of the top players, right, and a lot of the people that do all the content creation, right, they don't buy every single card in the game. And maybe that's why Disney's doing this, right? Because they're not getting a cut of the action. But like, the content creators, as we know from every card game you and I have played, Gibby, like, they fuel the community.
They do.
Right? They keep the community engaged, locked in, passionate, excited, right? Talking about it, buzzing about the new stuff. And I just wonder, like, how are they going to be able to do this the same way? And you know, from a community perspective, not only are people like already rioting, right, which is to be expected. People riot on Reddit and Twitter and whatever at the drop of a hat. But the difference here is that, like, there's going to be a massive gap unless something comes out right away. And I'm sorry, I just struggled to believe that there's something around the corner this fast. The game launched in August. It's not even been a year old. And I'm going to be, my socks are going to be knocked off if they have something ready to go on June 16th. My socks are going to be knocked off if they have a, homegrown or an internal official Disney branded, client within a
Within
year.
alpha testing, beta
Like,
testing.
they will, I mean, they would have had to have been doing this from jump. Like
think about the amount of
so
stages
the reason
that it takes
Pixelborn,
to get an online client up and things like that. Like, usually they're pretty honest and pretty candid and pretty public about these kind of things coming because they want to build their own hype. And like, it had Ravensburger put out saying, "Hey, yeah, we're going to be building, like, we're building a client. It's in the infant stages of testing. Be looking for this to come sometime in mid 2024 or late 2024." You're like, okay, when is the notice going to come that Pixelborn needs to kind of pay its respects and like step away when the official one comes? Like, at least that would have made sense and you could have seen it coming, and it would have been okay because at least there would have been something out there of, yeah, there's another client officially from the creator coming, from the developers coming, but nothing. Like, for
or why didn't they
it
just buy
just
him
it just
out?
seems
That's the thing
it feels spiteful
for me. It just, the communities, it feels spiteful. It feels like, again, they better have something locked and loaded in the PR cannon, because this is a huge undermining of all the goodwill they built in the Inklands meta. I mean, keep in mind the Inklands was the first set that had great supply right away, right? It was also the first set that had a balanced metagame where it wasn't just one or two decks floating around being the top dogs, especially ones that were really expensive to build. Right, it finally diversified the metagame. It opened up more budget options. It opened up more competitive deck options. Like, a lot of goodwill was built during the whole Inklands rotation, right? And now we're getting to Ursula's Return. There's a lot of new stuff circulating, right?
production
And
issues.
I'm not saying it's uncertain in a bad way. It's uncertain in a good way. There have been some production issues too, sure, and there's also some a little bit of discontent. And I don't want to get too into it, but like, Atlanta wasn't perfect. I had a great time. I might get a chance to record a video on that, but like, it wasn't perfect. There were some things that were issues, right? Which is all fine and like all fine and good, like, as growing pains. I think most players are understanding of that, but this is just like, this is just cutting people's legs out from under them at a time when you were finally righting the ship. And I guess this leads to the final question here, and I want to close with this because I don't want this segment to be too long. But Gibby, can Lorcana survive this?
I think Lorcana is I will say yes. One, because I fully expect them to do something with, like, if push comes to shove as a last resort, I expect Ravensburger, if they notice that the ship is going down, to reach out to Pavel and say, "Hey, let's work together. Let's kick back up Pixelborn, and let's make it like official hand in hand."
I don't know if that's within Ravensburger's powers to do.
I think it's in their powers.
This seems to be a Disney. This, to be clear, they said Disney representatives, not Ravensburger.
Well, so the powers that be at Disney, maybe they will. I don't know, but I think there needs to be some sort of digital access, or else maybe the game is going to be in a really, really tough place. I think it'll become stagnant, and it'll be reliant on local game shops, and they're really going to have to pump out additional support for these local game stores to like really incentivize players to come in and play the events and have cool things to play and chase after. Maybe lower prices of packs. I don't know what they're going to have to do, but if there isn't an online client quickly that will replace Pixelborn, I expect there will be something, and I do expect the game to continue to persevere. But that's only if Ravensburger and Disney respond the correct way.
I think we're going to go into a Lorcana Dark Age. Um, whether we will fight our way out of it, as a community, I don't know. I listen. I don't expect the literal game to be gone in a year or two, right? But I mean, I think that the trajectory they were going, they had built themselves a pretty long runway, and the fallout from this, even if they turn around and announce something saying we've got a client that's in the works, it'll be up by 2025, that
Yeah.
won't be good enough for the community. They will have burned so many bridges. You will have so many, competitive players that have come to Lorcana because if they have this great digital access, they don't have to pay a bunch of microtransactions to try the game, and then they turn around and then they buy their cards later once they know what they're going to go take to a tournament. How do I know this? Because every competitive, player that's on a podcast is doing it that way. I don't do it that way because I enjoy the process of playing in my community and opening packs and stuff like that, right? But like, most of the people on some of the top podcasts and top content creators and streamers, like it's not like they're going and ordering boxes and boxes and boxes and going to the local game stores. They're grinding on Pixelborn in front of an audience of thousands, right? Like it's different vibe, and not only are these players going to be the loudest and most vocal opponents of this, those are going to be the people that are going to sway the masses and tell them, hey, this sucks. This doesn't just suck for me. This sucks for you. This sucks for the growth of the game. This sucks for the competitive integrity because now all of the meta testing is going to be kept secret. There's not going to be a whole, sort of democratization of information that we see as the standard in competitive card games. It's not. This isn't good. And they would have to have a, Mickey Mouse miracle up their sleeves for this not to tank the game in the short term. And the ability for them to right the ship in the long term is going to come with two things: patience from Disney, who is not always known to be patient, and it's going to require a digital client to replace Pixelborn, and a lot of good faith bought through supporting the community, like you said, through open and frequent communication from the developers as to what they're doing and why, and a little bit of luck. The game's going to need to stay fun. I hate to say this, but this would be a situation where I've seen some rumblings of like, are we going to enter a tier 0 meta? I saw some people, throwing that around. I don't actually believe that that's going to happen, but the reality is that like, I mean, if we go back, if we were to go backwards to like a, set 1, set 2 meta, as in this situation, that could be a worst case scenario that would drive players away, by the thousands. And I hate to say that, but like that's just how these things go. We're not sitting in a world where like there aren't other options. Okay, like there's Magic and Flesh and Blood and Pokemon and One Piece and Star Wars, and people have choices. You need like these companies need to work hard to keep their customers. And it's worrying to me.
Yeah,
I'm
especially
worried
since we know
for the
that
game.
like Ravensburger, like there's a long-term plan for like the sets already, and like the cards are going to get printed for sets to come, and they're putting out all these like additional materials like the Fighting Ursula 2-player version of Lorcana, and they're printing all these additional ones.
Yeah.
Like there's such a long-term plan clearly there that they have to have something. I struggle to believe, despite my evidence of realistic timelines from prior games we've both played, what it takes to put out something worthwhile and the standard process that goes into putting out a good digital client. It better be good quality because people are going to compare it to Pixelborn constantly and say, well, we actually had this function back in Pixelborn. This function's so much better during Pixelborn. I liked this better. There's this. So like the user interface better be good. It better work. It better not crash a bunch of times, and they better be able to keep it updated along with all of the other things that are going to support the long-term plan. So we will see. To your point, we'll probably put out several videos about this as we get more information in the coming days, in the coming weeks, about what the plan is from Ravensburger or Disney, whoever ends up putting out kind of official, more official notices about the cease and desist for Pixelborn and the way forward.
Yeah. Well, thank you all so much for listening. Everybody, say your prayers and send those thoughts and prayers up for not only our man Pavel, who we want to give a big thank you to for all of the support of the game that we love, but also, fingers crossed that that the mouse can keep the ship afloat. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you on the next one.